The grand observation chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the main display activated. Senior observer Krelthun adjusted his ceremonial collar nervously, while the gathered representatives from 17 species leaned forward in anticipation. "The unidentified vessels have entered scanner range," announced the technical officer, a slender Nilari whose skin glowed faintly blue in the dim light. "Displaying visual feed now." The massive screen flickered to life, revealing the dark expanse of space punctuated by stars. Then they appeared, 5 enormous ships sliding out of what appeared to be self-generated rifts in spacetime. The vessels were unlike anything the Council had ever documented. "Are those colors?" whispered Counselor Vexthor, his 4 eyes blinking in succession. Indeed, the human ships defied all Council vessel design protocols. Where Council ships maintained the traditional gunmetal gray or obsidian black exteriors that signified proper military discipline, these newcomers sported vibrant stripes of red and blue. One ship even had what appeared to be artistic patterns along its hull. "The largest vessel is hailing us," reported the communications officer. Vexthor straightened his posture. "This is first contact protocol. Everyone maintain composure. Put them through." The screen shifted to reveal the bridge of the human vessel. A woman with short brown hair sat in what appeared to be the command chair. Several other humans stood nearby at various stations. The chamber remained deathly quiet as both sides observed each other. Then the human captain smiled, an expression most Council species found threatening, and spoke. "Greetings from Earth and the United Human Systems. I'm Captain Diane Foster of the UH Discovery. We come in peace and friendship." Before Vexthor could formulate the traditional greeting response, something unprecedented occurred. One of the humans in the background tripped slightly, nearly spilling the container of liquid. Instead of punishment or shame, the incident triggered a strange reaction among the human crew. They made short, explosive sounds while their faces contorted. "What are they doing?" hissed Security Chief Moxar, reaching for his weapon. "Is this aggression?" The Council's xenobiologist rushed to explain. "I believe they are engaging in a behavior called laughter. It's a social bonding mechanism, not a threat display." On screen, Captain Foster composed herself. "Excuse us. Long journey. We're just happy to finally make contact with your civilization." Vexthor managed to recover his diplomatic training. "We welcome you to Council space, humans of Earth. I am High Counselor Vexthor of the Unified Galactic Council." Another human approached their captain, leaned close, and whispered something. This triggered another round of the strange laughter behavior. Several Council members shifted uncomfortably. "My science officer just pointed out that your species appears to communicate with multiple mouths," Captain Foster explained. "We find biological diversity fascinating. We look forward to learning more about each other." Vexthor struggled to understand how these beings could command such impressive technology while behaving so casually. Council ship commanders maintained rigid discipline at all times. These humans seemed almost relaxed despite being in a first contact situation. "We request permission to send a diplomatic delegation to your Council station," continued Foster. "We've brought cultural information and exchange proposals." "Permission granted," Vexthor replied formally. "We will prepare for your arrival." As the communicate 3 days after first contact, the Council's grand reception hall had been meticulously prepared for the human delegation. Ceremonial guards stood at rigid attention along the walls, their armor polished to mirror perfection. Council representatives from all 17 member species arranged themselves according to strict protocols of rank and seniority. The massive doors slid open with a quiet hiss. Captain Diane Foster led the human delegation, followed by 5 crew members in crisp blue uniforms. The humans walked with a relaxed gait that immediately set them apart from the formal Council members. "High Counselor Vexthor," Foster said with a slight bow. "On behalf of Earth and the United Human Systems, we thank you for your welcome. Allow me to introduce our diplomatic team." She gestured to a tall man with graying hair. "This is Frank Wright, our chief diplomat. Wright stepped forward with an easy smile. It's a genuine pleasure to meet you all. We've been looking for neighbors in this galaxy for quite some time. Vexthor performed the traditional 12-second silent greeting bow of his species. When he straightened, he found Wright holding out his hand. On Earth, we shake hands as a greeting, Wright explained. After a moment of hesitation, Vexthor extended his three-fingered hand. The human clasped it gently and moved it up and down. Fascinating custom, Vexthor said. Perhaps we should proceed to the formal exchange-off. Is that artwork? Interrupted one of the humans, a woman with curly red hair whom Foster introduced as Dr. Olivia Carter, their cultural anthropologist. Carter pointed to an ancient ceremonial war mask displayed on the wall. Before the council's cultural minister could begin the traditional 4-hour explanation of its significance, she added, "It reminds me of Halloween masks back home. My nephew would love that." Several council members blinked in confusion, while others shifted uncomfortably. The cultural minister looked positively ill at the comparison of sacred council artifacts to what appeared to be a human children's celebration. "Perhaps we should begin the formal meeting," suggested Ambassador Zixera, attempting to restore order. The delegation moved to the grand conference table, where refreshments had been arranged according to the biological needs of each species. As they sat, Frank Wright reached for what appeared to be a glass of blue liquid. "I wouldn't recommend that one, sir," said one of the junior council aides. "That's Krell digestive lubricant, fatal to most carbon-based life." Wright quickly withdrew his hand. Then, to everyone's shock, he laughed. "Well, that would have been an unfortunate end to my diplomatic career. Thank you for the warning." Instead of showing proper shame at nearly violating a taboo, the human found the situation amusing. Other humans joined in the laughter. Security Chief Moxar leaned toward Vexthor. "They laugh at danger. Perhaps they truly are warriors, as the Krell faction suggests." The formal meeting began with prepared statements from both sides. When the council's historian began reciting the traditional 40-minute greeting chronology, the humans exchanged glances. One suppressed a yawn. During a brief recess, Frank Wright approached Councilor Zixera, who represented the more progressive council species. "I sense we may be challenging your protocols," Wright said. "Humans tend to be more informal than what you're accustomed to." "Your informality is unprecedented," Zixera admitted. "Some council members find it concerning." Wright smiled. "Where I come from, there's an old saying, 'Laughter is the shortest distance between two people.' Perhaps that's something our cultures can learn from each other." As they returned to negotiations, Zixera found herself watching the humans with new interest. Their strange behavior clearly hid depths not immediately apparent to council understanding. These laughing humans might be more complex than anyone had initially thought. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began precisely at the third rotation, as all important matters did. The circular chamber, designed to represent equality among member species, buzzed with tension. Representatives from all 17 species sat in their designated sections, many having traveled through multiple jump points to attend this unprecedented meeting. High Counselor Vexthor struck the ceremonial resonance rod, sending a melodic tone throughout the chamber. The conversations ceased immediately. "This emergency session will now commence," Vexthor announced. The topic: the human delegation and their proposal for alliance with the Council. Ambassador Kralthok of the militaristic Krell stood first, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he moved to the central speaking platform. "These humans represent a clear threat," he declared, mandibles flexing with conviction. "Their ships carry weapons we cannot yet identify. Their casual behavior, and this laughter, is clearly a psychological warfare tactic designed to unbalance us." Several council members nodded in agreement. The Krell had survived 3 interstellar wars and were known for their military insights. "They laugh when facing potential danger," Kralthok continued. "What kind of species finds amusement in risk? Only one prepared for conflict." Next rose Professor Nima, chief scientist of the Nilari Collective. Her translucent skin pulsed with thoughtful blue patterns as she approached the platform. My colleagues, I believe we must consider biological factors before making judgments, she said. Our preliminary analysis suggests that human neurochemistry is unique. Their laughter appears to be an evolved response to stress and social bonding. It releases chemicals in their brain that reduce anxiety. She displayed a holographic model of human neural pathways. Fascinating, isn't it? They literally change their brain chemistry through this behavior. It may explain how they've survived despite originating on a high-gravity death world filled with predators. The chamber filled with murmurs. Elder Quos of the ancient Pax species raised his withered hand. In my 400 cycles, I have observed many species join our council, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. None have approached diplomacy with such informality. Yet their technology suggests advanced civilization. This paradox troubles me. Councillor Zixera, who had spent the most time with the human delegation, stood next. I believe we are overlooking something important, she said. Yes, the humans behave differently, but they have shown nothing but peaceful intentions. Their ambassador Wright explained that humor is central to their culture. It helps them cope with hardship and build relationships. Security Chief Moxar interrupted, and their invitation to visit their vessel. Clearly a trap. Zixera shook her head. I do not believe so. They call it a cultural exchange party, an opportunity to learn about each other in a less formal setting. The debate continued for hours, with factions forming quickly. The conservative council members saw danger in human unpredictability, while progressives argued for cultural openness. The analytical species demanded more data before making judgments. Finally, Vexthor raised his hand for silence. We have debated extensively, yet remain divided. Therefore, I propose a compromise. A small delegation will accept the humans' invitation to visit their vessel. This group will include representatives from security, science, and diplomacy. They will assess the true nature of these beings. The vote was taken, with a narrow majority approving the plan. As the council members filed out, Zixera approached Vexthor privately. What do you truly think of these humans? She asked. Vexthor considered this carefully. In my 30 cycles as High Counselor, I have never encountered a species that seems both so advanced and so casual. It defies all our expectations. Perhaps, Zixera suggested, that is precisely what makes them interesting. Vexthor nodded slowly. The delegation departs tomorrow. May wisdom guide us all in understanding these laughing humans. The council delegation approached the UA's horizon in a formal transport shuttle. Through the viewport, the delegates observed the massive human vessel with a mixture of scientific curiosity and trepidation. Unlike the sleek, uniform designs of council ships, the horizon featured unusual curves and those strange colored markings along its hull. Remember protocol. Security Chief Moxar reminded the group. No consumption of unknown substances, maintain dignified posture, and report any unusual observations immediately. Councillor Zixera nodded, though she found herself increasingly fascinated rather than concerned. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud, and after pressure equalization, the doors opened to reveal Captain Alan Peterson and 2 crew members waiting to greet them. Welcome aboard the Horizon, Peterson said with a warm smile. We're honored to have representatives of the Galactic Council visit our humble ship. The Council delegation performed their formal entry ritual, which the humans observed respectfully. Then, unexpectedly, a sound began playing through the ship's communication system. Rhythmic, pulsing music unlike anything in the Council archives. What is this audio disturbance? Asked Professor Nima, her skin flashing with surprise patterns. A female officer with short blonde hair stepped forward. That's music, specifically jazz from Earth's early 21st century. I'm Lieutenant Olivia Carter, Cultural Liaison. The captain thought you might enjoy experiencing some human culture during your visit. Before Moxar could object, Peterson added, we can turn it down if it's distracting. No, Zixera said quickly. We are here to learn about humans. Please continue. The tour began in what the humans called the mess hall, a communal eating space decorated with colorful images from various Earth locations. Unlike the utilitarian nutrition chambers on council vessels, this room bustled with activity. Crew members sat in groups, talking animatedly, some playing games with small objects on tables. "Our crew works in shifts," explained Officer Greg Nelson, a tall man with dark skin and a quick smile. "Off-duty personnel can relax, socialize, or pursue hobbies. During duty hours, they behave differently," asked Moxar, seeking confirmation that humans did maintain some discipline. "Absolutely," Peterson assured him. "We maintain proper protocols during operations, but we found that allowing recreation time improves crew performance and mental health." As if to demonstrate this duality, an alarm suddenly sounded. Several crew members immediately stood and moved with purpose toward exits. "Minor coolant fluctuation in engineering," Peterson explained calmly after checking his communication device. "Standard procedure." The delegation continued to the recreation deck, which contained exercise equipment, gaming consoles, and a large viewing screen currently showing what Carter called movie night preparations. "Movies are visual storytelling," she explained. "Tonight's feature is a comedy, a story designed to make people laugh. You deliberately create situations to trigger this laughter response?" Professor Nima asked, fascinated. "Exactly," Carter beamed. "Humor is important to humans. It helps us cope with stress and build connections." The tour culminated in the ship's observation lounge, where refreshments had been prepared. As the delegates cautiously sampled human foods deemed safe for their biologies, they witnessed something remarkable. The minor engineering issue had been resolved, and the crew members returned, joking about the incident. "Chief Ryan had his hands full with those coolant valves," one officer said with a chuckle. "Still better than the time on Europa when he—" Another began before dissolving into laughter. Peterson noticed Moxar's concerned expression. "They're celebrating a problem solved efficiently. Humor helps us acknowledge challenges without being defeated by them." As the delegation prepared to depart several hours later, Zix-Era found herself reluctant to leave. These humans, with their music, their laughter, and their colorful ship, had proven far more complex than council reports suggested. Perhaps, she thought as they boarded their shuttle, there is wisdom in their joy that the council has yet to understand. The formal diplomatic reception in the council's grand hall was proceeding according to the meticulously planned schedule. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic patterns across the polished stone floor, while council dignitaries mingled with the human delegation. Servers glided between groups offering carefully selected refreshments suitable for various biologies. Junior Officer Eric Martinez stood near a refreshment table, nervously adjusting his dress uniform collar. This was his first diplomatic assignment, and Captain Foster had chosen him specifically to gain experience. He straightened his posture as High Elder Kavor, one of the most respected council members, approached the table. "May I assist you, Elder Kavor?" Martins asked, remembering his protocol training. The ancient alien, whose skin resembled weathered bark, nodded solemnly. "The blue liquid, young human. My species requires regular hydration." Martinez carefully lifted a glass from the table. At that precise moment, Ambassador Zix-Era passed behind him with a question about human customs. Martinez turned slightly, and disaster struck. The glass tipped, spilling bright blue liquid down the front of Elder Kavor's ceremonial robes. The room fell instantly silent. Council members froze in horror. Spilling liquid on an elder's ceremonial garments was considered a profound insult in at least 3 council cultures. Security Chief Moxar's hand moved reflexively toward his ceremonial weapon. Martinez's face paled. "Elder Kavor, I am deeply." To everyone's shock, Captain Foster burst into laughter. She quickly approached the scene, still chuckling. "Oh my, Eric. Baptizing our new friends already." Several human delegates joined in the laughter. The council members remained rigid with shock. "This is outrageous. hissed a Krell representative. The human deliberately insulted an elder. Elder Kavor himself stood motionless, blue liquid dripping from his ancient robes. Security personnel began moving toward the humans, but Ambassador Linda Coleman stepped forward quickly. She was the humans' chief diplomatic officer, and her expression became serious as she assessed the situation. "I apologize for our reaction," Coleman said, addressing the room. "In human culture, we often use humor to diffuse tense situations. Officer Martinez's mistake was clearly accidental." She turned to Elder Kavor. "We meant no disrespect to you or your position, Elder. Our laughter was not directed at you, but at the universal awkwardness of such moments." Captain Foster nodded. "Where humans come from, laughing at small accidents helps prevent them from becoming major incidents. It's how we manage stress." Martinez looked mortified. "I take full responsibility, Elder. I will accept any consequences." The tension hung in the air for several long seconds. Then, to everyone's surprise, Elder Kavor made a strange rumbling sound. His ancient face creased in what might have been a smile. "In my 400 years," the elder said slowly, "I have been addressed with excessive formality and caution. Never has anyone spilled a drink on me and then laughed about it. I find this refreshing." He turned to Martinez. "Young human, your honesty in accepting responsibility speaks well of your character, and your captain's reaction suggests a culture that does not dwell on minor misfortunes. This is wisdom." Gradually, the tension in the room dissipated. Council members watched in amazement as humans helped clean Elder Kavor's robes, all while sharing stories of similar diplomatic mishaps throughout human history. Later, Ambassador Coleman explained to a small group of curious council members, "Humans use humor as a coping mechanism. When we laugh at problems, we shrink them down to manageable size." "Is nothing sacred to humans?" asked a puzzled Nilari scientist. Coleman smiled gently. "Many things are sacred to us, but we've learned that taking ourselves too seriously can be a barrier to understanding others. Sometimes, laughter is the best diplomacy." As the reception concluded, Councilor Zixera noted that several council members were attempting to understand human jokes. The diplomatic incident, rather than creating division, had somehow brought the species closer together. Councilor Zixera stood outside the human delegation's temporary quarters, hesitating before announcing her presence. After 3 cycles of observing these strange beings, she had made a decision that many on the council would consider unusual, perhaps even inappropriate. She activated the door signal. Captain Foster's voice responded promptly. "Come in, please." The door slid open to reveal a room transformed. The standard council visitor quarters had been rearranged with furniture placed in a circle rather than the traditional hierarchical rows. Colorful fabrics adorned the walls, and soft music played in the background. "Councilor Zixera," Foster greeted warmly. "What a pleasant surprise." Zixera stepped inside, her 4-fingered hands clasped in the traditional posture of formal request. "Captain Foster, I have come with an unusual inquiry." Foster gestured toward a seat. "Please, make yourself comfortable. We're always happy to answer questions." After a moment's hesitation, Zixera took the offered seat. "I wish to understand humor," she stated directly. "This concept is largely absent in most council cultures, yet it seems central to human interaction. I believe understanding it may be crucial to our future relations." Foster's expression brightened. "That's the most exciting request we've had since arriving. Let me call our communications officer. She's perfect for this." Minutes later, Officer Susan Garcia joined them, bringing with her several data tablets and an infectious enthusiasm. "Humor is complex," Garcia explained, "but at its core, it often involves unexpected connections or the sudden release of tension. Let me show you some examples." Over the next 2 hours, Garcia patiently explained different types of human humor: wordplay, physical comedy, situational irony, and more. Zixera watched video clips showing humans deliberately falling, telling stories with surprising endings, and making rapid verbal exchanges that triggered group laughter. "But why do you find pain amusing?" Zix-Era asked after watching a human slip on a banana peel. "That seems counterintuitive to species survival." Garcia smiled. "We're not laughing at the pain itself, but at the unexpected disruption of normal patterns. Plus, mild misfortune that doesn't cause serious harm helps us practice resilience. If we can laugh at small troubles, they have less power over us." Gradually, other council members who had heard about the unusual cultural exchange arrived. The serious Kreefel, known for never having expressed emotion in 3 decades of council service, stood rigidly by the door. "Try creating humor yourself," Garcia suggested to Zix-Era. "The simplest form is the pun, a play on words with multiple meanings." Zix-Era considered this. In her language, the word for diplomatic mission sounded similar to digestive malfunction. She carefully constructed a sentence using this similarity. "When the ambassador felt ill during negotiations, was it a diplomatic mission or a digestive mission?" The room fell silent. Then Captain Foster snorted, followed by Garcia's delighted laughter. "That's exactly right. You made a pun." Zix-Era felt a strange sensation, a lightness in her thoracic cavity. The corner of her mouth twitched upward. From the doorway came an unexpected sound. Councillor Kreefel, the eternally stoic, made a short, barking noise. His facial ridges twitched as he quickly composed himself, looking both surprised and embarrassed. "Councillor Kreefel," Foster said gently, "I believe you just laughed." "Impossible," he replied stiffly. "My species does not engage in such behaviors." "And yet it happened," Garcia said. "Congratulations on your first joke appreciation." As word spread throughout the council station, more representatives arrived, curious about this human custom. By the end of the day, representatives from 11 species had attempted to create or understand humor. Some succeeded better than others, but all participated in this strange new form of diplomacy. Later, as Zix-Era prepared her official report, she paused, reflecting on the day's events. The humans' greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their strength. It was their ability to transform tension into connection through shared laughter. For the first time in her diplomatic career, Zix-Era felt genuinely optimistic about an alliance's future. The Grand Council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 17 member species packed the tiered seating, with even the rarely seen void dwellers appearing for this historic occasion. At the center of the chamber stood the recently constructed Earth podium, slightly taller than standard to accommodate human height, and adorned with the simple blue and green symbol of their homeworld. High Councillor Vexthor struck the ceremonial gong, its deep resonance bringing immediate silence to the chamber. "Today marks a significant moment in council history," Vexthor announced, his voice carrying to every corner. "After extensive deliberation, cultural exchange, and diplomatic negotiations, we formally recognize Earth and all human colonies as the 18th member species of the Galactic Council." Captain Foster and Ambassador Coleman approached the podium together, both wearing formal Earth diplomatic attire. As they walked, a soft murmur spread through the chamber. Several council members were attempting to suppress what could only be described as laughter. "The sound you hear," Vexthor explained with newfound understanding, "is not mockery but appreciation. In the 3 cycles since humans arrived in council space, they have taught many of us the value of their unique perspective." Foster stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all human settlements, we accept membership with gratitude and joy. We bring not only our technology and resources, but our culture and our spirit to this alliance." She paused, then added with a smile, "including our sense of humor." This time, genuine laughter rippled through sections of the chamber, not just from humans, but from several council species as well. The sound, once considered inappropriate in formal settings, now symbolized the remarkable transformation that had occurred. After the ceremony, Captain Joe Wilson of the HFY Pioneer presented a bold initiative to the newly expanded council. "We propose a crew exchange program," Wilson explained, standing before the council leadership. Human personnel serving on council vessels, and council members joining human crews. True understanding comes from working side by side. What would have been dismissed as preposterous only cycles ago was now approved with minimal debate. The galaxy was changing. On the council homeworld, the human embassy opened with features unprecedented in diplomatic history. The central hall contained an exhibition of humor through human history, with carefully translated jokes, comedy performances, and explanations of humor's role in human resilience. More surprising was the embassy's weekly comedy night, where beings from across the galaxy attempted to understand, and sometimes create, humor. Most remarkable was the transformation among certain council species. The once rigid Krell warriors began incorporating humor into their military training, finding that laughter indeed helped manage stress in crisis situations. The analytical Niluri scientists discovered that humorous approaches sometimes led to creative problem-solving previously overlooked. Even Elder Kavor, who had lived 4 centuries with unwavering seriousness, now occasionally attempted jokes during council sessions, to mixed results but universal appreciation of the effort. 6 months after formal recognition, Councillor Zixera met with Captain Foster in the embassy garden. "Your species has changed us," Zixera admitted, watching fountains that had been programmed to spray in unexpected, amusing patterns. "Not since the Great Unification has council culture evolved so rapidly." Foster nodded thoughtfully. "And you've changed us too. We've learned the value of your traditions, your careful deliberation, your ancient wisdom." "Perhaps that is the greatest lesson," Zixera suggested. "That strength comes in different forms. The council had structure, protocol, and stability. Humans brought flexibility, laughter, and a new perspective on adversity. Different approaches to surviving in a challenging universe," Foster agreed. As they looked up at the stars now shared between their peoples, Foster smiled. "You know, there's an old Earth saying, 'We don't laugh because we're happy because we laugh.'" For perhaps the first time in the history of the galaxy, 17 ancient species were learning the wisdom in those simple words, while humanity discovered the value of joining something greater than themselves. Together, they faced the universe with new strength, and occasionally with laughter.